Big changes have come to scouting, and Scouting America, the uniform, it's going to change a little. Let's talk about it. Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk a little bit about the Scouting America logo change. This was announced last summer, the summer of 2024. Now, as of February 8th, 2025, Boy Scouts of America has a new logo. And the new logo represents a lot more of what scouting does, whether it be a boy troop, a girl troop, a crew, which is kind of co-ed, and then you have all the different kinds of scouting that goes on in America. Scouting America is better representing all of the different things that scouting does in America. This new logo, and we're gonna put it up, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about being good stewards of scouting and really thinking more about encompassing more of our program that we have. This is something we already have, so we need to think about that. And it's not that they're taking the boy out of a boy troop, okay? They're really trying to include everyone as one cohesive group, and that's why Scouting America, which is, after a while, it took me a while to start saying that. It took me a while to get used to girl troops, you know, and we don't have girls and boys, we have scouts. That's the best way to think of it. Scouting has for many years been in America, and it's important that we support this new branding. It includes everyone, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Here is the actual patch that can be added to your uniform, and this brings the uniform up to date for that branding. Now, keep in mind, the scouting has never gotten away from or did away with any of the uniforms. So historic uniforms are still valid. You just have to stay within that time period that historic uniform is actually representing. So if you have early scouts from the 20s, they have a look, they have a certain patch construction that they use on their uniform. They have, if you're representing from the 60s or 70s, they will have different types. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're looking at historic uniforms. Technically, they are still valid, but they have to be kept in accordance to that time period. So for Scouting America, it is important that if you're going to be doing that vintage type of uniforming way in the future, you're looking back and you see this, definitely have this patch on the uniform. Now keep in mind, there has been many changes to the branding in the past. All of them are valid. And if you have a new shirt that says Boy Scouts of America on it, go ahead and wear it. They're not taking those away. They're not going to be selling those. They're going to be putting this patch over that. And eventually this will be embroidered right into the shirt. So for the time being, this is an option. You can update the uniform if you so choose. That's all up to the individual. If you have Boy Scouts of America on there, that's fine. If it says Scouting BSA, that's fine. It's all in your preference and how you identify with your uniforming, trying to keep that consistent. So definitely think about that. Now, vintage is another thing completely. So think about the updating with the patch. They won't be available right away. They've even said that until summertime they really aren't going to be available because they want to concentrate on all the shirts that they have. They want to be able to put them on the new shirts that are being sold. So once that's been taken care of, then they'll have the patch out there. And I think it's nice. There's a lot of different kinds of uniforms out there. So think about trying to identify the shirt, the uniform. We still have epaulets. We still have the same color scheme. All of that's going to be about the same. And uniforms tell a story. And this is a neat thing. This is new. And if you get that patch and put it on, great, because it's an option. It's not mandatory to have this on immediately, and you can't wear a uniform shirt until you get this patch on there. No. Go ahead, continue as you were with your uniforms. Now, when you get a new shirt and the uniform tells a story, that'll be on there. So don't worry about not being in uniform. The uniform police is not going to go around, start knocking on leaders' doors and saying, "Hey, you better get that badge." That's never been the way it is in scouting. You wear what you have, and you're proud of that. Wear that. There's no problem there. If you want to add that to your uniform, to your story, go right ahead. I don't believe there will be a grace period or a period of time where people want to make sure that they're upgraded so that they're within a uniform guide of some kind. The thing is, they've had branding changes in the past, and it's always been up to the individual to update their uniforms. Now, there are areas they don't have the money. The troop, the youth don't have that money, especially their parents. They don't have the money for brand new uniforms. So we don't want to exclude anybody because of the price, okay? So because of that, in the past, when we went to Scouting BSA, they didn't have a grace period. You chose to either put that on your uniform or not. So that was all a part of that. So think about all the different economic regions in America. It would just not be scouting-like to force everybody to get this patch right away. Over time, this is the new branding. This is where they're going. So this is an option for so many youth and adults. As a scout leader, if you have old uniforms and stuff like that, it's really up to you to make this update. This is something that is up to the scout and the scouter. They can choose to update their older shirts to this new logo. It is, at this time, it is totally optional. So, and I think most scouts and scouters want to be, up to date. It's not a uniform police issue to enforce. So if somebody's bullying you about your uniform, you need to say, look, there's nothing that that scouting has put out in the past has been outlawed. Okay, you can't wear it. No, none of that. It is something that is vintage, and it should stay vintage with those vintage uniforms. And those are wonderful things. There's a lot of great things that are going on, such as the honor patrols that do flag ceremonies and stuff in different vintage uniforms. Okay, none of that has been forbidden. Okay, none of it has been outlawed. Okay, for you uniform police out there. So keep that in mind. These are things that will be vintage in the near future. So if you choose to upgrade, that's fine. and there shouldn't be an issue. Nobody should be bullied about, putting this patch on, whether you like it or not. No, it's up to the individual. Hey, before we go any further, I want to make sure that you know that you're invited to the campfire chat. This is a live meeting right here on this channel that we do every first Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a great way to ask questions and not just me, but a lot of the guests that we have on the Fireside Chat. Definitely check that out. Also, I want to thank all of the Patreon for all of their support of this channel. In addition to that, we have our own membership right here on the channel. This is a fantastic way to get involved on this channel. Definitely hit the join button. It'll give you a bunch of information that'll tell you a little bit more about that process. So definitely get involved. We're going to just jump right on back. Constant availability. Now this is something that is going to evolve over time. So if you're watching this and it's an old video, this probably has already been worked out, but as this rolls out, they're concentrating on getting the new inventory up to date that's at the scout office or the scout shop. That's what they're doing. They're trying to get that updated. Once that has been done, by summertime they should have the patches available, where people can actually add them to their old uniforms if they choose. So this is something that becomes an option. There will be a cost. So this is something that if you're not a person who can sew on patches, there might be some expense as far as putting on the patch, and the physical patch will have a price. So these are things that make it optional to either add to your uniform, add to your story. That's something that will be a cost. The uniform is traditional. It doesn't change that often. Sometimes there are big changes. So if that's something that you're wanting to look at and look at some of those big changes that have happened to the uniform over time, there is a video about how the uniform tells a story. Check it out. That is a great video. But the uniform lasts a long time. This is a new shirt as of 2 years ago, and this is something that I purchased. And the thing is with scouting, the shirts last a long time because you take them off if you're in an activity or you're dealing with paints or cleaning things that will stain your uniform. So you protect your uniform, and it does tell the story. All the different patches, all the knots, all that stuff, that tells the story. This does tell that story too. So this is something that is optional at this time. It is important to keep that in mind. It may become something that's mandatory. That this be added on. Now I know if they do that, the cost will actually have to be considered for a lot of people, and that is something that usually they don't. And they've done this in the past, like I've said. So this becomes a process of just updating the uniform. Your older equipment you can add this to that uniform, that story. Community reaction. This is something that happens. When you change a uniform, change a branding, they're going to have reactions. And hopefully you can be that example and help resolve any of those issues that may arise. This is critical to getting this branding out there. There are a lot of people that are very happy about it. There are a lot of people that are not so happy about it. So we need to be scout-like and really be there to help and support youth and adults that may have an issue with this. So definitely be there to help out on that branding issue. The core values of scouting have never changed from day one. It's the Scout Oath and Scout Law. That's the important part. The branding is how people think of it. How do they look at it? How do they view that organization by that branding? So that's the thing. This is far more conducive to what we actually have in scouting. It really frames in exactly what we're about. Scouting it's a wonderful thing, and being that American Scout group, that's the key. Now I want to hear your opinion, so definitely use the comments. Be mindful of the Scout Oath and Law when you're leaving your comments. I like passion for scouting and passion about our values. That is totally fine. Definitely tell me what you think. This is something that we're going to have to work through and get through that process, especially if it's a problem. If it's not, celebrate it. Tell others how happy you are about it. This is something, I think it's about a 50-50, maybe. So definitely put it out there. Don't let the negative people that are not liking this change, don't let them rule the conversation. Okay? Definitely put your 2 cents in. Talk to others. Our community is open to all scouters. As long as you go by the Scout Oath and Scout Law, you don't take it personal. Definitely put a comment on there. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's not necessarily on the video, because I'm not supporting or knocking or, it's not the video, but the comments. Don't be that person that acts like a bully or a troll. Okay, you don't want that. You want to be scout-like. So definitely use those comments below the video to express your joy, your disappointment, your whatever. That's the place for that. Keep up that good, hard work. I'm so very proud of you and working with your scouts, helping them through the joys of scouting and through any kind of controversy or any of that other stuff. Keep helping them. Keep in mind the scout values that we have. Definitely give comments here, and you just impress the heck out of me. So, but that's the wonderful thing about scouting. You just keep doing what you're doing best. Keep up that good work. If you'd like more information about the uniform, there's a history about the uniform. Check it out. Until next time, I'll see you on the trail.